Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are back with another episode of Daily Palantir. Today's Daily Palantir episode is going to be about one thing. I know yesterday I said we were going to cover a variety of different pieces of news that were happening in the world of Palantir, but yesterday I only focused on AIP now. Well, today I am only focusing on one piece of news because we got a really big piece of news and I'll push off the other news to the next days during this week. Today, Palantir got a $37 million contract from the Lithuanian government. This contract is much more important than meets the eye. I was informed about this contract from someone on Facebook, out of all places today, who messaged me this morning, who is in a Lithuania Palantir investors group. The DD on Palantir, it goes deep and it's global across the entire world. And he messaged me this link. I clicked on the link. I verified everything, checked it out. I translated from Lithuanian to English because I didn't understand what the link was saying. And it's real. Palantir has a new contract. Let's break down everything about this one. Real quick before we begin, if you want the written version of these videos, I do a newsletter every single day, dailypalantir.substack.com. It is free to subscribe. Link is in the description. So if you want to get a newsletter every single day, 10, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can subscribe to that newsletter and get the written version of what I talk about in the videos. Number two, I broke this news on Twitter this morning. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, that is also in the description, and that's where you can get the updates as soon as I get to know them about Palantir right there on Twitter. Now, before we get into the actual news, Palantir right now, price action 25.11, up 2.46% on the day. Is it up because of the Lithuanian news? I don't think so, because quite frankly, outside of Twitter, I have not seen any major news publication, global or domestic in the United States, cover this Lithuanian news. I really had to kind of dig for it because that person sent it to me on Facebook this morning. So it's not really news that I think the street is looking at. I think we're up $25, or we're up to $25 simply because of some of the macro that has happened. Remember, Palantir hit 27.50 2 weeks ago. We hit the low 23s last week. So 25, that 22 to 25 range, again, it seems like we're consolidating there pretty nicely. And as long as we can stay in this range and then make the next leg up into Q1 when we have those earnings, then I think that's some pretty good price action for Palantir. Okay, so let's get into this news. This is some pretty exciting stuff. And this is quite frankly why I love covering the company, why I enjoy covering Palantir, and why I think the community around Palantir, quite frankly, is just the best community on the planet when it comes to the stock market. I mean, for me to get a message on Facebook Messenger, you know that annoying little ding you get with it? Like, for me to get a message, I heard the ding. I was like, I haven't heard this in like a year. What is it? And someone on Facebook Messenger messages me, and we get to sort of crowdsource this due diligence. This is the exciting part about covering this company. There's just so much to cover, and today is one of those days where we got to break down what's going on. Palantir wins a $37 million contract with the government of Lithuania. So this is the picture right here. As you can see, the link, I'll put it in the description as well. You can click on the link yourself and see what this contract looks like. So this photo is from the Central Public Procurement Portal, CVPP, which contains all relevant information about Lithuania's ongoing public procurements. This contract was signed in March, on March 19th, with the state data agency, specifically the Department of Statistics, under the government for the Republic of Lithuania. Now, why is this so important? And again, here's the picture. It is a Palantir Foundry license rental, including infrastructure that they acquired on March 19th. Here's another picture for some more details. It looks like the procurement will take place in July 2024, Q3, but the contract was set for March 19th, 2024. Now, why is this an important thing? Well, Lithuania and Palantir have had an ongoing relationship for a while. There was a press release back in April of 2023 that we covered on the channel where Palantir set up a regional tech hub in Lithuania. This is what Karp said in 2023. The critical role Lithuania plays on the world stage will only continue to increase with the current arc of our geopolitics. We are more than grateful to the president of Lithuania for our new partnership with the Ministry of Defense to establish a technical center in Vilnius, which will strengthen not only the nation and its Baltic partners, but also the democratic values which they seek to uphold. The Lithuanian president in 2023 said developing new high technology oriented foreign investment opportunities as well as creating partnerships to co-create new technological products are important for regional security, which is a win-win policy. Lithuania's talented labor force and attractive business environment is our treasure that we must further nurture. So Palantir and Lithuania have had a productive relationship since the middle of 2023, and I think they used to work. They knew each other before 2023, but that's when they kind of formalized the relationship through the Ministry of Defense. And this idea that there could be a regional tech hub in Lithuania, which is not a country that has, the biggest tech companies in the world coming out of it. That is something that Palantir has been trying to do for a lot of NATO countries that don't have as much technology. Obviously, we've seen what Palantir has been able to do with Ukraine. Lithuania and Poland are examples of countries that are on the Baltic states. And as a result of that, there is always this fear, and the Lithuanian president talked about it in the press release a year ago, that Putin could potentially invade them the way he invaded Ukraine. And so when you're looking from the Lithuanian government's perspective on Ukraine getting invaded and what is the number one piece of software, what is the first product they're using to try to deal with the fact that they're being invaded? Palantir. Well, in my opinion, you make a call to the CEO of Palantir and you're like, hey, can we talk? Can we kind of figure out what you're doing with these guys so that maybe you can help us before that happens to us? Because who knows, that might be able to happen to us. So to me, I think this partnership is very important. This is a partnership that is not a defense partnership. This is a partnership that is with the state data agency. So it's a partnership with the Department of Statistics. It's not necessarily like Gotham. It is Foundry. And it's a partnership that like the U.S. government, like the IRS or something, would sign with Palantir. It's not a defense contract, but it is a contract that they signed with the Lithuanian government. Now, when I tweeted it this morning, some people said, well, because it's not like a big defense contract, because it's not Gotham, because it's not, the Palantir saving Lithuania through some special defense software, that $37 million really doesn't matter. I have 3 responses to that. I agree. $37 million is not a huge amount for Palantir, but this news would be just as important if it were $3 million. Why? Because it's not the DoD. It's a whole new country. Establishing relationships with countries and actually getting contracts in place, even if they're just with the statistics department of the state agency, is what is necessary to further nurture those relationships to eventually get larger deals. It's $37 million today. It might be $337 million in a few years after Palantir shows their value, which is what they are the best at. Last year, we signed up with Lithuania to create a regional tech hub. This year, we're getting $40 million. I would imagine if the relationship goes well and Palantir shows their value, that relationship will only get further, and that could be worth more money in the future. Number 2, it's an international government deal. We are seeing government revenue overall not grow as much as commercial, so we need countries outside of the U.S. to start buying Palantir software. The U.S. alone cannot grow government revenues because it's cyclical and has many moving parts. Having other countries like the UK get associated with Palantir in year 1 and then give them $480 million by year 3, which was the NHS deal, is the Palantir blueprint. It's exactly what happens, and it's what you need to grow. So Lithuania, to me, is another country that can help that international government revenue accelerate, and helping that government revenue accelerate is incredibly important because right now it's not growing as fast as commercial is growing. Third argument, it's Lithuania. As I just talked about, this is a country on the Baltic states. They are scared, just like other countries in that region, if Putin were to decide to invade them. So one of the reasons they are probably giving Palantir a smaller contract is because they are likely thinking about procuring Gotham, if they haven't already, and getting their country ready in case anything were to happen. Gotham would not be $37 million. It would be a multi-year contract comprising of the most sophisticated defense software. If Palantir gets Lithuania, they may be able to get other Baltic states that are also at risk of Russia, like Poland. So to me, countries across the world are increasing their defense budgets. Many of those countries part of NATO. Palantir has a chance to capture that entire market over the next decade, and deals like the one we are seeing today get them closer to doing so. So I think if you see this deal today and you say, oh, it's $37 million, it's not that big of a deal. It is an elementary form of analysis as a shareholder and, at least for me, long-term investor thinking about Palantir. Like this, if this was a $2 million deal, my first thought was, oh, Palantir signed a $2 million deal with XYZ agency in XYZ country. Like the XYZ part is what gets me more excited more than the numerical amount, because 37 million, 5 million, 10 million, 15 million. At the end of the day, these are rounding errors for Palantir's broader revenue goals. Will it help? Sure. But it's not what matters. What matters is the relationship. £1 million, the first contract Palantir signed with the NHS, which was for £1 back in 2019, that didn't matter that much. The next contract that was £20 million, that didn't matter that much. What mattered was 3 years later in 2023, against all the politics that were trying to take Palantir down, Palantir wins a $480 million contract. Like, that's what actually matters. And if they do well and they retransform the entire NHS, the opportunities for them to expand globally to other healthcare systems, I think, are massive. So the contract today, to me, if you're a long-term Palantir investor, what does that signal? That signals Palantir is forming other relationships. They're using those relationships to get contracts, even if they're not the big, juicy contracts. And those contracts are setting a precedent, a framework, and a foundation over the next 5 to 10 years for them to be able to get more contracts. In particular, this deal, the way I would think about it today, is that it's a Baltic state. It's the broader opportunity for Palantir to go after NATO writ large. And in general, if every NATO country, if countries all across the world are increasing their defense budgets, and Palantir is being very friendly with many of those countries, and they're working with many of those countries, I would argue that that is a very big market that Palantir is going to try to go after, because those defense budgets are not going to go down, not after what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, and definitely not what's happening in Israel, Palestine, and China, Taiwan potentially might happen. That's also another reason countries are increasing their defense spend. Where is that money going to go? I don't think that money is going to go to a handful of people. I think that money is primarily going to go to Palantir, but this is a very unique situation where they've got to really be meticulous about how they get into these countries to be able to procure those contracts. And it seems like today is another step getting closer for Palantir to eventually take that entire market. All right, that's it for me. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. This was the full update on Palantir's new $37 million contract with the government of Lithuania. If you want the newsletter version of this, dailypalantir.substack.com, you can subscribe, and you can follow on Twitter for updates every single day in the world of Palantir. Exciting stuff, big contract, and we'll see where it goes in the future. Thank you guys for listening and watching. I'll see you in the next one.